David HaMelech, in describing the Dor HaMidbar, the generation of the Midbar, these are individuals, other than the Erev Rav, the mixtures of people who joined us. The Jewish people who left Egypt were on a very high level. They were good people, they were righteous people, and we can never judge anyone. Definitely not those who were before us, because they were greater than us. But David HaMelech tells us, nevertheless, Am to'eh levavhem vehem lo yadeu derachai. In a nutshell, if you want to know what was going on in their mind, in a nutshell, this is a people, to'eh levavhem. They had no clarity. They were wondering. Vehem lo yadeu derachai. They definitely had no understanding of my ways, Hashem says. They knew I exist. They heard I created the world. They witnessed the miracles that I performed, but they did not understand my ways. How could they? They are like little children discovering what Hashem is. And there's much to discover. And there's some things that we will never know. But what we take for granted today, they did not know. They're just finding out now. So therefore David HaMelech tells us, just remember, they were not aware of everything. They did not fully comprehend what was going on, why Hashem was doing certain things. And because of that, they had questions, they had complaints. And Moshe in Parashat Ekev gives Am Yisrael, these same confused people who did not understand the ways of Hashem, some of the explanation of why Hashem did what He did. So I'm going to go over several limudim, several lessons, and there are many more, but the basic lessons of this parasha, what Moshe is conveying to Am Yisrael. 5 lessons. Lesson number 1. Why does Hashem make us suffer? He holds back food and water for a number of days until we begin to cry and complain. You're taking us out into the desert. Supply us immediately with food and water. Why are you waiting for us to beg for it? Why do you make us go hungry so that we cry out? To Moshe, of course, and to Aaron. What did you do? Why did you take us out to the desert to kill us and to kill our cattle and to kill our children? Many times they actually had this idea of going back to Egypt where they felt they were better off. So why did Hashem make it sometimes difficult? Make them suffer. As the Pasuk says, "Vaya'annecha vayara'ivecha." He made you suffer, He made you hungry. What for? The Pasuk beforehand says as follows. Just remember the entire journey that Hashem took you through for 40 years in the desert. What you went through. Everything that happened was lema'ana notecha. Hashem wanted you to feel some pain. Very strange. Lenasotecha. You know what the purpose of the pain was? To test you. What for? Ladat, to know et asher belevavecha, what's really in your heart. Atishmor mitzvotav imlo. Will you observe the mitzvot or not? But wait a minute. Hashem has to test us to figure out what we really are thinking, if we are sincere or not. Hashem knows everything. Hashem knows what's going on in our minds and in our hearts. Obviously, this is not a test for Hashem to find out. It is a test that when we go through it, we will find out. We will see what we are up to. Because this is an important test that we will have in the future. Many, many generations to come in the future, we will be faced with poverty, with hunger, with persecution, with disease, with pain. How are we going to handle it? Hashem therefore puts us through these experiences intentionally to teach us a lesson. I want you to know how to handle these situations. And the way to handle it is not by kvetching, like they say in Yiddish, by complaining, by nagging, but by turning to the Almighty and praying to Him. That's the simple explanation of why Hashem is putting us through these nisyonot, so that we figure out what it is to do, for us to do when we face similar situations in the future. The second limud, second lesson, is that Vayachilcha et Haman. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings down bread min hashamayim. Very unusual. Water we took from the ground. Later on we had meat. We had some vegetables. Why bring down bread min hashamayim? Why perform this miracle? There were other ways to get bread. You could have gotten hold of some grain and done it the standard way. Why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu provide us man min hashamayim? Vayachilcha man min hashamayim, to teach us another lesson. Ki lo ala lechem levado yihya adam. Ki al kol motza pi Hashem yihya adam. That man does not survive only on bread, he can survive on any other thing that God declares that this will give him substance. What does all that mean? Point number one, Ki lo ala lechem levado yihya adam, is to remind the human being, Parnasa is min hashamayim. You're getting bread now from Shamayim, so remember in the future, Hashem provides you with food. He is the one that gives you Parnasa, and not your PhD. All the years that you're going to spend in college, which is fine if you want to get a degree in something, that is not a guarantee that you will have Parnasa. Because bread comes min hashamayim. Am Yisrael therefore receives lechem min hashamayim, because lechem represents Parnasa. That is the basic need that all of us have. Remember, lechem, Parnasa, is for me. If you ever need it, you turn to me. Yes, you can write a resume, you can look in the LA Times and look for a job, but just remember, I'm the one that turns the keys. I will decide what kind of a Parnasa you will have, how much money you will make. Parnasa is min hashamayim. Ki al kol motza pi Hashem. Kol motza pi Hashem. Hashem decides what profession, how your Parnasa will come about. Will you have to travel 30 miles in every direction to make a living or not? Al kol motza pi Hashem. One has a hard time making Parnasa, one has an easy time making Parnasa. Al kol motza pi, all the ways, all the professions of how one will gain his Parnasa, that is also min hashamayim. Simlatecha lo valeta me'alecha. While you were 40 years in the desert, just look at your dress, look at your shirt, look at your pants. It did not wither. It stayed fresh. You had an automatic laundromat every single day with the ananei akavot, with the clouds that encircled us, that did our laundry. It stayed fresh. It did not shrink. It did not wither. Hashem, therefore, remember, takes care of all your needs, not just Parnasa. If you read this parasha, you will find that the many points that we will discuss have something in common. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is teaching Am Yisrael, is imbuing in their mind that emunah is not enough. Vayaminu b'Hashem u'b'Moshe avdo. They all believe that God exists. He delivered, after all, on what He promised He'll do, take us out of Egypt. He performs the miracles. He defeats the Egyptians, who were the most powerful nation in the world back then. Yeah, He's the greatest. We believe in Him. But do we trust Him? Emunah and bitachon are two separate things. People believe. And by the way, when we say we believe, in Judaism, belief means to know for a fact. Other people use the word believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe you. No, we know for a fact that Hashem exists. It was proven to us beyond any doubt. So when we say we believe, we know. But then there's something else called bitachon. Bitachon means I not only believe in Hashem and know He exists, I trust fully in Him. That what He promises, He will deliver. That He takes care of me, because He said so. But we may be facing trouble, and we may think for a moment that Hashem is not around. We may, chas v'shalom, not have faith or trust that He will protect us, that He will help us, that He will provide for us. That is called bitachon. Yes, I was convinced He exists, He created a world. But as many philosophers said, non-Jewish philosophers, yeah, but He bailed out. He's no longer around. That is why there's so much hefkerut, so much chaos in the world. That is why you have righteous people suffering and poor people and the wicked people prospering. In other words, there's no seder, there's no order, there's chaos, because He's not around. The Torah HaKadoshah therefore emphasizes the importance of bitachon. In Parashat Ekev and in other parashiyot, Moshe Rabbeinu communicates with us the importance of relying and trusting in Hashem. It's not enough to just have emunah. Because through bitachon, one achieves the following. Number one, he strengthens his faith by eliminating doubts. People may have doubts from time to time. One who has bitachon strengthens his emunah. Number two, he has less worries because he trusts in Hashem. After all, he was taught, Parnasa is min hashamayim. Parnasa min hashamayim is not emunah. it's bitachon. I trust that Hashem will provide for me. And number 3, bitachon Hashem shows true, sincere devotion to Hashem. I fully put my trust in Him. I put my faith in Him. Just like two very close friends have complete trust in each other. Complete trust, blind trust. They would never suspect anything. That is the relationship HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to have with Him. Because this is what truly leads to Ahavat Hashem. One who has bitachon b'Hashem. One who acquires bitachon b'Hashem will definitely acquire simcha, happiness. They go together. One who's boteach b'Hashem, he's happy. One who's happy, he's not only happy that he's a Jew, he will actually be content with his lot. Sameach b'chelko. Because to be sameach b'chelkecha, to be content with whatever your lot is, a few dollars or a lot of dollars, whatever it is, whatever your package deal is a sign that you are boteach b'Hashem, that this is letovatcha, for your own good. Because He knows what He's doing. He provides for me. If He decided this is what I need, this is what I'm getting, obviously He knows best. Yes. How do we what? How do we develop it? Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about now. Yes.
I wanted to ask you in the context of Hashem giving Parnasa. When you were in Israel, Rabbi, you said there's so much poverty now. So many people are waiting for their Parnasa.
Right.
And how do we reconcile what you just said with the fact there's so much poverty now in Israel? A lot of Am Yisrael is suffering from not having Parnasa.
I'm going to talk about that too, indirectly. You will have the answer to your question. Why there is poverty, why there is pain and suffering, which is a whole lecture in itself, but some of these ideas are expressed in this week's Parashat. He made you suffer. He made you go hungry. For a reason. There was a reason for it. Nothing happens by chance. Nothing happens for no reason. When we speak about bitachon, just remember, we are declaring that there is divine providence, direct supervision by the Almighty. He did not just create the world. He's the manager. He's the supervisor. Especially on Am Yisrael, which is an Am Segula, His chosen nation. He has a special bond with us, a special relationship. He takes care of all our needs. We sometimes are puzzled. That is what Moshe tries to give us here. Some important lessons that will help us develop that bitachon, because that is what needs to be achieved here. Emunah is somewhat easy. Bitachon is much more difficult. Many observant Jews, righteous Jews, do not have necessarily a lot of bitachon, b'Hashem. It requires a tremendous amount of work. You're not born with it. You may be born somewhat with emunah because you are taught that immediately by your parents in school. Bitachon is something that you have to develop. And part of developing that, in answer to your question, has to do with studying about it. When we study the Torah, we study the Nevi'im, Uktuvim, we read about Jewish history, we learn Gemara, we learn Zohar. That gives us some of the lessons that we need to have, some of the teachings that help us develop that bitachon and trust in Hashem, that you have nothing to worry about. Again, it's something difficult, and it's something that needs to be learned. We're talking about bitachon b'Hashem as opposed to bitachon ba'adam. David HaMelech makes fun of trusting human beings. He says, why should you trust a human being, put your trust in a human being? Any day he can leave this world. The wind can live him, he goes back to the earth. You're going to put your money in him? How many people have lost lots of money by putting their trust in a human being? Therefore, don't put your trust in those who appear to be generous and rich. Man cannot help you, cannot save you. It is therefore much better to rely and to depend on Hashem. And that is exactly what one individual did. He was sick and tired of depending on people. Anybody he took as a partner in his business either cheated him, did not know what he was doing, and he was always doing poorly in his business because of his trust in human beings. And he tried, and whatever he did not work out for him. One day he decides, Hashem, you're going to be my partner. Whatever I make, 50% for you, 50% for me. And from that day on, business grew. When people came and asked him, what is your secret? He says, it's very simple. Hashem is my partner. 50-50. 50-50, not maaser. 50-50. you can depend on Hashem. The third limud, limud hashlishi, Moshe Rabbeinu tells us, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes us suffer, when we go through painful times, that pain is ka'asher yeyaser ish et beno, Hashem elokecha miyasereka. When you are going through pain, it is a pain that a child gets from his father. What kind of pain does a child get from his father? Whether it's a rebuke, whether it's something a little bit more than a rebuke, which can be painful, it's out of love. The greatest love on earth, and the women are not going to like this, but still a fact, is the love a father has to his child much more than the love a mother has to his child. Doesn't mean mothers don't love their children, but many times the love that a mother has towards her child is because she can't stand seeing him cry. It's hard for her. It's the compassion on herself. Kerachem av al banim, the pasuk says. Kerachem av al banim. Hashem, please have pity on us, like a father has on his children, not like a mother has. How many stories have you heard of women throwing their infants in a trash can, in a trash bin? They just had it, they got rid of it. I'm not saying that fathers wouldn't do that, but it has been more seen by women, unfortunately, than by men. And Shlomo Melech says that too. Isha be'elef lo matzati. And I'm not going to get into why that is so. There is a special bond between a father and a son. It's a very loving bond. It's a very strong bond. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily reciprocated. The child's love for the father is not as great or as intense as the father's love for his child. We have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a husband and a wife. The Torah is a ketuvah, it's our agreement. But there's also another kind of relationship, the relationship between a father and his son. When it comes to rebuke, you can't say husband rebuking a wife, no. So we use this description, the relationship of a father and a son, because the rebuke of a father to a son is for his own good. The father does not hate his child. Father means the well of his child. He wants his benefit. He cares for him. He loves him. Therefore, remember, Moshe Rabbeinu tells us, if you are going through pain, if you are going through trouble, it's because Hashem loves you. And ultimately, He intends to be mechaper. An atonement is for our benefit, that we be cleansed. So you're going to get something good out of this. Therefore, whenever Halila, somebody is very, very sick, undergoing a lot of pain, regardless of the source of the pain, it is good. And that's something hard to explain, hard to understand for newcomers who have no bitachon Hashem and do not understand the ways of Hashem. Why? He's such a righteous man. She's such a good woman. She did tzedakah all her life. Why should she be sick? Why should she die at such an early age? Why should she leave behind 10 orphans? Right? We don't understand the ways of Hashem, but we do have some clues. That is what Moshe is doing us a favor here. You want some clues? I'm going to give them to you. Nothing happens for nothing. Nothing happens by chance. Hashem is in charge, and there's a reason for everything. And you know what? It's for your own good. Therefore, we should never use the word punishment. In Judaism, there's no such thing as punishment. It's a kapara, it's an atonement, if anything. Even death is a kapara. It's for the good of the individual that he goes through pain. The pain could also be a sign, a wake-up call. There are additional ideas. I'm just sharing with you one idea, and that is the idea that Moshe is communicating to us. What you went through, all that hunger and all that pain, all the struggles, all the wars, there was a good reason for that. It's all planned out. Hashem knows what He's doing. He's our Father, and a Father cares about His Son. With these three limudim that emphasize the relationship that we have with Hashem, how strong the bond is, and how much bitachon we should therefore have, nevertheless, there is always a danger that we may forget. Yes, once upon a time we were taught that Hashem takes care of us, Hashem provides for us, parnasam min hashamayim, but unfortunately we are human beings, we have weaknesses. And one of those weaknesses is we forget. We forget. What can we do? So the Torah says, you know what? We're going to warn you. You may have taken all these lessons, you may have learned them by heart, but you may forget. And one of the ways that you may forget is if you become very, very rich. If you ever become very wealthy, the chances of you forgetting are stronger. Veram levavecha v'shachachta. You will become arrogant and you will forget. Because that's what money does. That's what money does. And you can't say it's not going to happen to me, because it can easily happen to almost anyone. Because the more money you get, the richer you become. The yetzer hara that you had once grew along with the money. You may have been a big Baal Tzedakah when you had a little bit of money. But when your money grew, so did the yetzer hara. And all of a sudden you find yourself being stingy. How? How come? Because the yetzer hara grew along with the money. When a person becomes arrogant, when a person is comfortable, he can become weak in his emunah. He can forget who made him rich. Where's the source of all his blessing? And he may forget that Hashem is the one who really provided him with everything all along. And what will one say if he becomes arrogant? What's the danger of him becoming wealthy? He may say, Kochi ve'otzim yadi asu li kol ha'chayil hazeh. It's my koach, my strength, ve'otzim yadi, my intelligence, my resourcefulness, my diligence, my ideas. Asu li kol ha'chayil hazeh. They are responsible for my success. And people think like that. They really do. It can happen to the best people. What does the Moshe tell us? Don't forget. Ki hu hanoten lecha koach lasot chayil. He is the one that gave you all the strength. What does that mean, he gave you all the strength? So Onkelos, the Aramaic translation, in the Aramaic translation of this pasuk, Onkelos says as follows: Ki hu hanoten lecha koach lasot chayil, hu yahiv lach eta lemiknei nichsin. He gave you the ideas to buy real estate. For some reason, Onkelos chose real estate. And it's very interesting that he did, because I've heard it so many times. I wished I would have bought that property 2 years ago. I wish I would not have sold it a year ago. I could have made more money. You think you decided? That's silly. That's a lack of bitachon b'Hashem. That guy who bought it also needs to make a living. Not just you. You have enough. Hashem has a cheshbon. Hashem gives you the ideas of when to buy, when to sell. And if you need to lose money, that's going to also happen min hashamayim. Hashem puts it into our mind. Hashem is responsible. Hashem is the source of our hatzlacha. Don't forget about that. Moshe is therefore warning us, be careful with hashkafot lo nechonot. Be very, very careful from not having the wrong ideas, the wrong perspectives, the wrong outlook. The healthy and positive outlook is that Hashem provides us with hatzlacha. Hashem is the one that gives us ideas. Hashem is the one that enables us to find our parnasah. Everything is min hashamayim. But wait a minute. The pasuk says something else here. The pasuk says that when we become comfortable, we will forget halila. How will we become comfortable? Pen tochal v'savata. You may eat, become satisfied. Uvatim tovim tivnei v'yashavta. You will buy or build many beautiful homes. What's wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with building beautiful homes? It's okay for you to have a mansion if you have the money. Nothing wrong with it, really. As long as you spend just as much money on mitzvot as you do on material things. But the Torah seems to be saying, you know what? This is dangerous. That may lead you to become very comfortable, overconfident, arrogant. So the Be'er Mayim Chaim says as follows. Yes, when a person becomes very comfortable, very, very wealthy, because of all the luxury that he has, he may forget. However, it does not mean that it's asur for him to become comfortable. What should he do therefore that he should not become arrogant as a result of all the comfort and luxury? Whatever he buys, whatever he builds, should be l'shem shamayim. You're buying yourself something, a fur coat. A fur coat is a very luxurious item. Kadosh Baruch Hu, I want to feel comfortable in the cold. And look good too. Building a home so I can have achnasat orchim. There was one individual who came to a big rabbi. He said, Rabbi, I want a blessing. What do you want a blessing for? So I can, B'ezrat Hashem, soon buy myself a new car. He said, you want a blessing for gashmiut? Like a new car? Buy yourself a used car. No, I'm not going to give you a blessing for a car. What kind of a bracha is it for a car? You need a house, I understand. A new car, you have to have the latest car? No, Rabbi, B'ezrat Hashem, I want to buy a car because I'd like to help a lot of people who are in the middle of the road who need a ride. As we call it in Israel, a tramp. I stop for people who need a tramp, who need a ride. If that's the case, you want to do mitzvot with your car, then you'll get my blessing. If you do something l'shem shamayim, the Ber Mayim Chaim says, no nezek will befall you. You will not become arrogant as a result of that, because you did it l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. You are shaliach mitzvah, a messenger with the mission of a mitzvah. Shlichei mitzvah inam nimzukim, no harm will befall them. So the Torah warns us, pen tishkach, be careful, because it just may happen that you may forget. That will help us in not forgetting that Hashem is the provider of everything, is to learn and to review our learning, to continuously learn. By continuously learning and reviewing, you don't forget what you learned. The Chumash, the Parashat, we review it every year. We finish it, the Zot Beracha, we immediately begin Bereshit again. Review it, freshen up, remind yourself. How do you do that? By learning continuously. Don't say, I already did it once. No, you'll forget. Review. Number one. Number two, it's a very good idea for men and women to learn Jewish history. Some of that is in the Nevi'im Uktuvim, some of that is in other books, in the Gemara, in Midrashim. Read about Jewish history. You will be amazed as to what happened. You can see the design, you can see a little bit of Hashem's plan, because we are so many years after it, we're able to look back and see what happened, what Hashem said will happen, what happened. It's amazing. You can see the Ashgacha. There's so much to gain from Jewish history. You can see that history repeats itself. The same mistakes, the same troublemakers are coming back, incarnated. They have different names. The same people back then, the same politics. And hopefully there's some lessons to learn from all of this. So history is important, to read the history of the Jewish people especially. And number three, to read Sipurei Tzadikim, to read stories of Tzadikim, their lives, stories about miracles that happen, whether they're recent or not. They strengthen our emunah. They remind us about the Ashgaha. They remind us that Hashem is in charge, that nothing happens by chance. And there's some incredible stories in the 20th and 21st century. And there's some very good books out there that I would recommend. I just don't have the list in front of me. Books that all they do is tell us stories about miraculous events. And when you read them, you know and you realize it couldn't have just happened by chance. Very good way of strengthening our emunah, building our bitachon, and not forgetting that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in control. Now what happens if we forget, Halila? The first casualty of forgetfulness will be Yirat Hashem. The fear of God. That is the one that suffers immediately. Yirat Hashem becomes weaker. And since we're going to talk now about Yirat Hashem, that will be the fourth lesson that is expressed in this week's parasha by Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu, in elaborating about Yirat Hashem, says, "Ve'ata Yisrael ma Hashem Elokecha shoel mi'imach." And now, Am Yisrael, what does Hashem ask of you? He doesn't ask from you too much. Kim li'ira oto. Just fear Him. That's all Hashem asks of you. Fear of Hashem, that's all. Now obviously we have 613 mitzvot that Hashem asks us to perform. But the foundation of everything, the bottom line is Yirat Hashem. Hashem wants you to be God-fearing. As the Pasuk says, Yirat Hashem hi otzaro. The treasure of Hashem, what Hashem treasures the most of all activities, of all actions of human beings, is Yirat Hashem. Is that they conduct themselves in a way that expresses Yirat Hashem, that they're God-fearing. And there are many ways to express this God-fearingness. Before we talk about how to express it and how to acquire it, how to develop it, I want to mention what the rabbis tell us about Yirat Hashem, and that is that Yirat Hashem is so special, is so unique, that it's the only thing that Hashem does not give us, that we have to acquire on our own. As the rabbis tell us, Akol bidei shamayim, chutz miyirat shamayim. That is for you to acquire. I will give you parnasah, I will give you life, I will give you health, I will give you a wife, a husband, children. I'll take care of you. Akol bidei shamayim. Your whole mazal is from me. I will decide what kind of a package you will have, what age you will get married, how many times you will get married, how many children you will have, what kind of children you will have, how long you will live, how many losses you will have, what diseases you will have, what problems you will have with neighbors, at work, with the police. All of that is part of one's mazal. We have very little control over that area. Very little control. We're above the mazal. Am Yisrael is above. We can change it. But that doesn't happen too often. Because that particular mazal has a tikkun for us. There's a reason why Hashem put us under that mazal. We can still pray, and we should pray. Because if it's a terrible decree, we can undo the decree. We had a special relationship with Hashem. Am Yisrael me'al ha-mazal. It does not mean that we have no mazal. We have a mazal. A mazal which is customized for us, for every individual. There's one thing Hashem did not give us, that He expects us on our own to get. Yirat Hashem. Yirat Hashem is how we will be judged, how every individual when he leaves this world will be judged. They will not ask him, why didn't you work harder and make more money? Why didn't you build more buildings? Why didn't you buy more real estate? They couldn't care less about that. Because that's part of our mazal. Whatever Hashem allowed us, that is what we were able to achieve, more or less. Yirat Hashem is the only area where we have leeway. How God-fearing do we want to be? How many mitzvot we want to perform? That's all we call Yirat Hashem. Hakol bidei shamayim. Hakol chutz mirat shamayim. There's another Gemara that also says chutz mitzinim upachim, except for catching colds and flus. That's also your responsibility. Dress well when you go outside. Wash your hands before you put something in your mouth. Right? Obviously, take care of your health. Take care of yourself. But other than that, for the most part, hakol bidei shamayim. You have no control, very little control over what happens in your life. Chutz mirat shamayim. That is the only one area where you really can exercise your free will. In other areas, it's all predetermined, predestination, no free will. In order to better understand the significance of Yirat Shamayim, I'm going to give you the following example. Not too long ago, a balloon circled the globe. Balloon. I don't mean those small balloons. The balloon that somebody travels in. And it was a major achievement around the globe. Why would somebody want to do that? Why are there so many people attempting to go up Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world, over 29,000 feet? What's the big deal? And there are many other things that you may find in the Guinness Book of World Records. Achievements, difficult, challenging situations that people were trying to achieve. What for? Because anything that is difficult, there are very few people who are capable of doing it. There's less people who are capable of doing it. Whatever there is less of is more precious. Gold, there's not too much of. That is why it's a precious metal. It's valuable. Whatever there's a little bit of is more valuable. Yirat Shamayim is not very abundant in this world. It is something difficult. It's not easy to acquire. And that is why it's so precious. And that is why Shlomo HaMelech finishes his book of Kohelet, which is full of advice from the smartest man that ever lived on earth, Achacham Mikol Adam. He had everything you could ever think of, anything that you can desire. And how does he finish the book of Kohelet? Sof davar hakol nishma. Et Elohim yirav et mitzvotav shemor, ki ze kol ha'adam. The bottom line, the most important thing in life that you should strive for is Yirat Hashem. Because that is what man is all about. That is how he can be measured. That is his true achievement in life, not his mazal, not how much money he made. How do you measure a human being's achievement? You measure his Yirat Shamayim. Ze kol adam. That is what a human being is all about, and that is the tachlit. That is the mission, the only mission that he has in life. Yes, we have to earn a living, but that's not an end. It's only a means. We have to survive. The only end, the only tachlit, ze kol adam, Yirat Hashem. Yirat Shamayim, because of its importance, is really what one should be looking at in shidduchim. Single men, single women who have a preference list, which they're entitled to have. We all have preference lists, what we would like to have, but we need to be open-minded. We may not get everything we ever wanted. But what's the most important on that list? It should be not money, not a house, not a car, not a lavish wedding, not a tall girl or a successful businessman. It should be Yirat Shamayim, Midot Tovot, good character, good nature. She's the mother of your children. He is the father of your children. It's not only a spouse, husband, wife. They have other roles, additional roles. They're going to be parents. You want to have a very strong foundation that is based on Yirat Shamayim and Midot Tovot, right hashkafot. Of course, there has to be very good chemistry. You have to be attracted. You have to feel good and comfortable with the person. Obviously, it would make sense that they should be from similar backgrounds. But you can't have everything. You can't have everything. So what's the most important? Yirat Shamayim. Because it's more important, al tevater al zeh. You can give in if she's 4'11", as long as you're not 7'2". 7'2" and 4'11", even the rabbis say is not a good idea. They really say it's not a good idea. It has to make some sense. So don't be picky, because you're not necessarily going to get everything you ever wanted. But don't give up on Yirat Shamayim and Midot Tovot, because if he or she is not as attractive, so what? But he's Midot Tovot, he's Yareh Shamayim, Talmid Chacham. That's something to look for. So what if he or she is poor and you have to come up with the money to pay for the entire wedding? Go ahead and do it if he or she has Midot Tovot in Yirat Shamayim. That you should never give up, because that's the most important thing. There are various forms of Yirat Shamayim, 3 levels in Yirah. One is Yirat HaOnesh. Why don't you speed when you go down Beverly Boulevard? Because you don't want to get a ticket. Why don't you commit an Avirah? Because you're afraid of being punished. That is the lowest level of Yirah. The second higher level of Yirah is Yirat Het. I don't want to commit the sin because it's going to blemish my neshama. Or I don't want to speed because it's dangerous to speed. I may hit someone. I may get hurt myself. It's a little bit higher level. You're not concerned about getting the ticket. You're a little bit more idealistic here, a little bit more rational. The highest level of Yirah is neither of these two. Yirat Hashem. I love Hashem. Because I love Him so much, I'm afraid to do anything against Him. I don't want to hurt that relationship. When two people really care about each other, one is afraid to step on the other person's toes. One wouldn't say a word that may offend the other person. He's afraid of doing that because he loves her or she loves him so much. That is the highest form of Yirah. Yirah hakshura be'ahava. A fear that is tied to love. We fear Hashem because we love Him. That is the highest form of love. Well, if we were to use the example of the highway patrol, we don't speed because we believe in the law. We love it so much. We think it's correct. It's the right thing. Obviously, we can't compare the two. But Yirat Hashem, the highest form of Yirat Hashem, is not because we're afraid of punishment. It's because we love Hashem so much we wouldn't want to do anything against Him. Husband that truly loves his wife would never betray her, would never want to do anything that would cause her pain. The other way around too. A woman who loves her husband, two friends who really care about each other, would never do something that will hurt the other individual. If they are willing to do that, it's not true love. It may be 80% affection, but not 100%. One who truly has Yirat Hashem will not be afraid of anybody. As the Torah emphasizes various times in this week's Parashat, when you enter the land of Israel, Lo ta'aratz mipnehem, don't be afraid of this enemy. They may have more guns than you, so what? I will be there for you. I will defend you. I will fight for you. If you fear me, you have no reason to fear anyone. If Am Yisrael would truly fear Hashem, they wouldn't be afraid of anybody. They wouldn't need missiles. They wouldn't need tanks. Hashem yilachem lachem v'atem tacharishun. Hashem would fight all the wars, as He did in 48 and 67, and even in Yom Kippur War, even though there were more casualties. It was from Hashemayim. Obviously, we went out with tanks because we're not on the madriga, we're not on the level where we can do without them. One who's truly Yareh Hashem is not afraid of any human being, of any other creature in this world. So how do we acquire Yirat Shamayim? Torah says in this week's parasha, Umaltem et orlat levavchem. You should circumcise the orla, this blockage in your heart. Circumcise meaning remove it. Circumcision of the heart? I never heard of that. You might say, circumcision of the heart. How do you do that? So the commentaries explain it means to work on one's midot, to work on one's character, to improve one's character. We cannot change our nature, but we can control it. We can improve it. That is one idea of Maltem et orlat levavchem. Another idea is hasarat ta'avot, resun ta'avot, control of our desires, our worldly desires. We have to have control over them. And number 3 is being careful not to be stubborn. Umaltem et orlat levavchem. If you want to have Yirat Shamayim, you have to remove all the obstacles in the way of Yirat Shamayim. A person who has many desires, he thinks of himself first. A person who's very stubborn will have a hard time changing his ways. A person who does not work on his midot will not truly be a Yirat Shamayim. He cannot be a truly God-fearing individual. Why can't a person be a truly God-fearing person if he does not control his tavot, if he does not work on himself? Because when a person has many desires, when he commits many sins, the neshama becomes sick. Now what happens when the neshama becomes sick? Well, what happens when a human being becomes sick? Try to give him dinner, any cheshek, any te'avon. I have no appetite. When somebody tells you that, he may be sick. Well, a sick person, a really sick person, has no appetite. The Kabbalah says when the neshama is sick, it has no appetite for mitzvot. It loses interest. En lo cheshek. He's not interested. When somebody shows no interest, you know that his neshama is sick. The neshama became sick perhaps as a result of many avonot that bring about tum'ah. And this impurity called tum'ah creates mesachim, creates partitions between us and the Almighty. And this partitions cause harchakot, cause distance. And the further we become from Hashem, the less interest we have in coming back. Halila. Yirat Shamayim needs to be expressed. You cannot just believe in it and say you have it. It has to be expressed. How is it expressed? David HaMelech gives us an example. Shiviti Hashem v'nirdi tamid. I have Hashem in front of me all the time. What does he mean? I assume that he's around me at all times, and therefore I'm concerned with my actions. Does Hashem approve of what I'm about to do now or not? I'm always concerned because Hashem is before me, Hashem sees me. Hashem is aware of what I'm doing. Shiviti Hashem v'nirdi tamid. Therefore, I always consider, how will Hashem think of this? What will He say about this? That is an expression of Yirat Shamayim. You're concerned about that. One rabbi in the yeshiva that I went to, if he wanted to know if a Bahur is Yirat Shamayim, for Shidduchim or for other reasons, he would ask some people who knew him, tell me, does he talk in the middle of davening, in the middle of the prayer? Does he just go ahead and talk? That means he has no respect for Hashem. That was his way, and that's true. If a person has no respect for the Torah, for the Tefillah, that means he shows a lack of Yirat Shamayim. There are various ways to express Yirat Shamayim, to demonstrate Yirat Shamayim. David HaMelech basically tells us, have continuous awareness of your actions. A person who wants to work on himself, he says, you know what, I may have done something wrong today. Perhaps I should ask her or him for forgiveness. Maybe I insulted him or her. That is an awareness, a sensitivity that shows Yirat Shamayim. Maybe I did something wrong against Hashem. The one who is complete, Ha'adam HaMushlam, in Yir'ah and Ahavat Hashem, reaches the following level. David HaMelech goes to an additional higher step when he says, Tzame'a nafshi le'Elokim. I thirst for Hashem. When we are very close to someone and we haven't seen them or spoken to them for a while, we've missed them very, very much. When you miss someone, it shows you, and it shows them, that you really care about them. That there's an intense kesher here. And that is why you have ga'guim. You miss the person. Tzame'a nafshi. David HaMelech is saying, I thirst to be in the Echal of Hashem. I thirst to study the Torah. I thirst for the presence of Hashem. I want it so much. I miss it. That is the highest level that one can attain. When the neshama, that's all it thinks about. When you really love someone, you really like someone, you're very much attached to someone, you think about them a lot. They're on your mind. Hashem wants us to have that relationship with Him. Think about me all the time, just like you would think about those who you care about. Be thirsty. Desire to do more. Desire to be with me. When one is able to express that, he has reached a very, very high level indeed. So the big question is, why aren't too many people on this level? The simple reason is, for the same reason not too many people are mourning over the destruction of Yerushalayim. Not too many people are complaining and crying, Tzion azavani Hashem, as the prophet says. Hashem has left me, abandoned me, even though it's not exactly so, but it appears so. Not too many people are sitting and mourning and crying about that, for the same reason. What is the common reason between these two? The lack of thirst, the lack of interest, is that we have lost our sensitivity. People who lose their sensitivity for the presence of Hashem, for this special relationship, eventually are not even impressed by miracles. Didn't you just see this miracle? Nah, it could be it was just a coincidence. It was just nature. When you lose interest as a result of losing sensitivity, you're no longer impressed. It's very difficult to be convinced, therefore, of that this is in fact a miracle. All because we've lost sensitivity. So the next question is, how do we lose sensitivity? How does that ever happen? Basically, one loses sensitivity when one commits many, many avonot. And these avonot go on and on and on and are never repaired. I tell people, husbands and wives, do yourself a favor. You ever get into a fight? That's okay. It may happen. You disagreed. Make up before you go to sleep. If you allow all these disagreements and all this friction to build up over 10 years, and now you're saying, well, we can't get along. Should we think about divorce? No, go to a marriage counselor. That marriage counselor is not going to help you because you've lost all your feelings for your spouse. After all these years of not resolving your conflicts, of allowing all this friction to build up, you have no more feelings. You don't love the person anymore. Make up. Go out. Stimulate it. So you should not only have difficult times, so you should have some good moments too. I ask people who have a very difficult relationship, tell them, don't you ever have a good moment? A laugh perhaps with your spouse? Some say no. That's terrible. Yeah, those who say yes, you have a good moment. Oh, Baruch Hashem, then you're okay. Then you just have to know how to manage the difficult times. One who allows all the avonot that generate tum'ah and archaka and distance to go on and he doesn't correct them, eventually loses interest, loses his sensitivity. His neshama becomes sick, as we said before. Some become so sick that when they see kedusha, when they sense kedusha is approaching, they come out against it so hard. We see this in the Knesset today. There are some individuals who attack anything that smells of religion with ferocity, because unfortunately they're completely immersed in tumah. They're so sick, the neshama is so sick, not only have they lost interest, they're actually attacking the kedusha. Attacking kedusha. This is our own people, because their neshama is sick. We can't allow the neshama to become sick, so we have to repair our mistakes, our avonot, as soon as possible. How do we remove ourselves from the tum'ah? The rabbis tell us, learn Torah even if it's not for the sake of heaven. Just to learn, for your own sake. Eventually you will be learning it for its real reason. Why should I learn Torah shelo lishma? What will I accomplish from it? What will I accomplish with it? Every little bit of Torah will remove some of that tumah. Every little bit of light will drive away the darkness. So even if it's shelo lishma, it's okay. Just read, just learn. Even though if it's not for the real reason. We want to remove the tumah as soon as possible. Finally, the benefits of Yirat Shamayim are also expressed by David HaMelech in the very, very beginning of the important book called Tehillim. Yirat Shamayim is not only an end in itself, there are many benefits, of which one he spells out in the very, very beginning of Tehillim. Ashrei Aish, fortunate the man, Asher lo alach batzat reshaim, who does not follow the advice of the wicked, b'derech hataim lo amad, u'moshav letzim lo yashav, does not go and associate with the clowns. Ki b'torat Adonai yechefso v'torato yehgeh yomam v'layla, all his interest is in the Torah. Asher Aish Yireh Hashem, he says elsewhere. Fortunate is this person who's God-fearing. Similar idea to what he's saying over here. He will have very special children, he goes on to say. The following generation will emulate his deeds. He will have a tremendous amount of nachat from his children. And he goes on and on to describe the reward in this world and in the world to come of someone who's God-fearing. Another idea that perhaps can help those who have been very, very immersed in tum'ah, as the Nabi says in this look back to your forefathers, where you come from. They were very special people, your grandparents. They were willing to give their life for Judaism. Do you know what that means? That means you have the potential too. Rabbi Akiva and Resh Lakish, Chazru b'tshuva, when they were older, Resh Lakish was the head of all the thieves, gangster. He became a tremendous Talmid Chacham. Rabbi Akiva, you know who he was and who he became. People even later in life have done teshuvah, because we all have the potential. A Baal teshuvah demonstrates that in reality he's a diamond. The diamond was dirty. It was polished and it came out shining. And that is what Rav Chaim Vital says about our generation. Most of the neshamot are reincarnated today. And many of them could be tzaddikim. Many amongst us could be righteous people from before. We're not even aware of our ma'ala, of how great we may have been before and what our real potential is. The fifth lesson in this parasha is Lo tavi to'eva. Be careful not to bring a to'eva, an abomination, into your home. We have enough troubles outside. So please do yourself a favor. Don't invite it into your home. Don't bring a TV. You have enough of it outside, all the pornography, all that abomination. Bringing it into your house and watching it? Do yourself a favor. Don't bring yourself into a nisayon. You're testing yourself. You're tempting yourself. We have enough temptations outside. Why do it to yourself? Torah Kedusha is reminding us, please, you have enough trouble, enough challenges outside. Don't bring it into your home. Because then the battle is even more difficult. I'd just like to finish with the word Ekev. The Torah begins, the Swiss Parashat begins with the word Ekev. Ekev means a heel. And there are several ideas expressed in this word Ekev. One is not to be mezalzel, not to show a lack of respect and consideration to the small mitzvot that we trample on with our heel. Mitzvot that we consider small, like not answering amen on time, not making a blessing, not wearing tzitzit. People treat them very, very low. This is not that important. Be careful even with the small mitzvot. That shows Yirat Shamayim. You're careful with the small as much as you're careful with the big. Another idea behind the Ekev is ikviyut. It means consistency. When we develop a relationship with Hashem, we want to be consistent. You want to talk to Hashem as often as possible. You want to be consistent. You don't want to give up a shi'ur for just any reason. You want to show consistency. When you love somebody, you're consistent. Be consistent in this relationship with Hashem. And one more idea of Ekev is referring to the heel of this life, of this world. Harita, mean the end of days. In the end of days, there will be many challenges. It will be very, very difficult to be Jewish, to be observant. Be strong, and we are in the end of days. Be very careful from all the temptations, because we are all in the Ekev, at the very end, at the heel of the times. And during this time, there will be many Badei Teshuvah.